Okay, fantastic. Here we are. Thrilled to have Javier Vargas Avia, uh, who is the director for Google Play UX Research at Google. Super thrilled and excited to have you back as our opening keynote speaker, this time for the first ever inaugural UX360 conference taking place in Berlin. Welcome on board, Javier. So great to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Wonderful. So let's get started. I have a few questions to ask, and our attendees would love to know more about you and the man behind all the awesomeness. To get to know more about who Javier is, and get to know about the speaker. Great. So um, yeah. So without giving too much away. It is the opening keynote, so I don't want to have you give away too much. But what is the core message of your talk, and what would you like our attendees to remember?
Sure. Thanks. Well, I'm going to give a talk about what we call critical user journeys, which is like the defining like key journeys that people use, that people do with your products. But not only defining them, understanding them, and then also measuring them. So the key philosophy behind that is that to enable product teams to focus on users during product development, it is important to remember and put in the center of the development process the key journeys that people are taking to reach the goals they have. And one thing is to define them, which many teams do, but the other thing is to actually measure them and use then like those metrics during the product development to understand how we're doing, things are going well or not, if changes are successful or not, and these kind of things.
Okay, fantastic. And how has UX research as a discipline evolved? And what do you think are the challenges for UX researchers now currently? And how can they tide over the tough times that's going on right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to give a generalized answer here because UX research as a discipline has obviously evolved as product development has evolved and products have evolved. But it's also important to mention that different companies are in very different maturity stages, not only for research, but for UX in general, right? So we still have companies that are very early on in building the UX discipline, or some companies don't have a UX discipline, right? And then other companies have that for decades, and so it's really different depending on where you are. I think overall, we can say that there is an awareness that understanding users is important for products to be developed successfully. And user research has earned a seat at the table in that product development process, together with all the other disciplines, obviously product and all the different facets of UX. So I would say that what has evolved is an awareness like many companies that the best way to like develop products is user-centric, and as part of that we have research. As products have evolved over time, obviously research always has to adapt, and that happened multiple times over the last decades. Think about like one big milestone is like the internet coming up. That changed a lot. Like there was research before the internet, obviously, but the internet changed a lot. And other important milestones are, for instance, the move to mobile. When a lot of the research in the beginning was mostly on desktop, suddenly we had to do research not only on different devices, they're mobile, but also very different contexts compared to the past. And then we're right now in a big shift with everything around AI and Gen AI that impacts obviously products. interfaces are more fluid. There's a lot more possibilities, and which will also impact the way research is done, like research looks at products, but also the way research is conducted in the sense that AI obviously also will impact, improve, and change the research process. So yeah, research is not static. The methods are in general similar, but they evolve and get adapted over time.
Right, absolutely. Thanks so much for that. You also brought up the issue of getting a seat at the table that is being talked about so much. So you also help young and up and coming professionals to kickstart and build their career in UX and also become better leaders. So what does leadership mean to you? And if there's one piece of advice to UX professionals, what would that be?
Yes. That's a good question. There's a lot of facets to that. I mean, in general, leadership, and that is not specific to UX, means that you get a group of people to go in the same direction with you, right? And many people think it's connected with management, basically you telling people to go in that direction. That is actually not what leadership is, at least not in the sense that I look at. Leadership means that your actions lead a group of people that are sometimes reporting up into you, but very often not, to go in the same direction and do something, right? And so, and as UX leaders, because we are the advocates for users and we understand how important it is to center the development process around users, our job is to engage in leadership activities that then drive the entire group that develops a specific product or feature to go in a specific direction that is more user-centric than that they would normally do. For UX professionals that go that are starting or like even like already in there, like one piece of advice that I often give is a lot of UX professionals get very frustrated when their cross-functional counterparts don't like do what they want. Basically, they don't pay attention to user insights or to the input that the UX discipline provides. And there is this process where we have to over and over again advocate for user-centric development, advocate for our users, explain to stakeholders why this is important, get their buy-in, and then eventually get them to action. And that is part of being a UXer. And so if professionals get frustrated with that, because I have that often when people go like, oh, now I have a new stakeholder and they never worked with UX, now I have to explain again what research is, and now I have to again prove why it has value. And what I say is that is just part of the job. Like that will always be the case, no matter where you are, right? You will sometimes you're lucky, you get to work with someone who knows already how it is to work with UX. But other times you don't. There's people that don't have that experience, or they did work with UX, but in a very suboptimal way, so it's not the way you think it should be. And so it's part of the job to have that conversation and to prove the value over and over again. And if you embrace that, then it's way less frustrating to do your job, because you're just like, okay, like if I think in a maturity model, that person is somewhere like very immature, now I need to help them to get to that place. I need to prove the value of UX. And once I did that, it will be much easier. And so, yeah, instead of fighting that, it's much more healthy to just embrace it and accept it.
Great, great, wonderful. And you've also been involved the whole human-computer interaction even early on in your career. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the rise of AI the elephant in the room that everyone's talking about, and the need for human touch.
The need of human touch. Okay. So I think that, I mean, the rise of AI, or let's say of generative AI, right? Because like if AI has been around for a while, many companies have used AI already in their products for years, right? Now it is very on vogue. Everybody speaks about it, and like the main difference to the past is that we are using now AI to help users generate things, which in the past was less the case because we would use AI to maybe optimize, like micro optimize small things. Imagine like you're typing something and then this being auto completed and similar things. So the rise of generative AI obviously opens a lot of new opportunities to solve user problems. And I think that's a very key, like, second part of that a sentence, that currently many players in the market, many people working product development are not really paying attention to enough, right? Right now, I see that there, like, generative AI is shoehorned into products in all kinds of weird ways that are not about actually solving a user problem. They're more about how can we use generative AI in our products. And that I see all over again. Like basically that question is like, we're trying to figure out how to use AI for our products.
Right.
How should we go about this? Now that is completely wrong, because typically when you integrate something in a product that is not addressing any user needs or problems, then it will not be very helpful. So instead of asking how should we shove generative AI into our products, we should be asking what are our users' problems, and then which of those problems could be solved with AI. And then we are on a path to actually solving a real needs and making something successful. And I see a lot of parallels to when the internet came up, right? So when the internet came up, it was like a big boom, and everything was going to be on the internet, right? Everything, all our lives was going to be on the internet. The same way now we think like all our lives are going to be dominated by AI, right? And there was a lot of money being poured into companies and startup, like thousands and thousands of startups, very often with pretty dumb ideas that were not really addressing user problems. Then the move to the internet was way slower than people had anticipated. And a lot of those ideas didn't actually solve any real needs. And a lot of those ideas went bust. And a lot of those startups disappeared. And there was like this burst of the bubble after the dot-com boom that then led to like a readjustment of the system, and then players working on this still, but like much slower and much more reasonable. And I think with AI, something similar might be happening, right? There is a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of money being poured into that and a lot of things being done in that field. Not all of those things are addressing user needs. Not all of those things have a good business model behind it. So there will be a phase where some of that will be, again, like consolidated, and some players and some ideas will disappear and some will remain. And that actually leads to your question about the need of human touch in products. I do think that is a very important aspect. Yes, there are users who are enthusiastic about AI, but there's also users very skeptical about it, like pushing back on it, and also very clearly expressing the need for control, transparency, and understanding about what is happening in the product. And as product leaders and product developers, we need to get that right. And if we don't, then we will run into problems because products will not be adopted and accepted in the way we would like them to. So that's why I think it's important to never lose that touch and to include users into the product development process. And not only the enthusiasts, like people that work in tech and that are embracing all of that, but also the people that are, from a very natural standpoint, much more skeptical about these things.
Yeah, well said. So as a follow-up question to this, what does the future for UX research and researchers look like then, with what's happening with the rise of new tech? I know you spoke about embracing it. What do you think about the future?
I think AI will impact researchers in two ways, and I alluded to it before a little bit, right? One is the products will change, right? There will be aspects of products that are much more fluid than in the past because they're like influenced by AI, and we as researchers will have to understand how to research and understand that, like. If you think about like a simple use case as a ChatGPT or Gemini, right? You go there and like you write queries to have stuff generated, right? You cannot like in qualitative studies test all those queries, right? Like, that's just not feasible. So how do we go about like understanding the user interface and understanding some of the key journeys to still like influence the product in the right direction? But embrace that fluidity of the interface. So that's one aspect, including everything that it involves to integrate AI in products in ways that increase user trust and transparency and all those things. So basically, the products are changing, and we as users need to understand, as user researchers need to understand how to embrace that. But the other piece is, and that's actually a piece I'm pretty excited about, which is like the craft of UX research is also impacted, right? Because now you can use AI to help you in the process of conducting research, right? Think about very simple things that are already being done, which is like, I have thousands of answers of an online survey, and before I might have either like hand categorized a couple hundred of those, or I might not have looked at the open-ended comments at all because of that. Now we can use generative AI to help us create categories, to like mass categorize those things, to look for very good quotes and these kind of things. So there's similarly like that. There's many steps in the research process that you can think that will be just improved or easier in the future, obviously with a lot of caution, because there's also a lot of problems with generative AI, hallucination, all these kind of things, right? So how to embrace that and how to build in the right checkpoints and guardrails for us to understand that process is important, but it might remove some of the tedious work that was actually not exciting work for researchers, but and give us more time to focus on generating insights and helping product teams to use those insights to move the product forward. So that is the second part, and I'm pretty excited about that.
Great, wonderful. Now time for some not so serious questions. I'm going to ask you, a few quick fire questions. It's a rapid fire round, so you can't take too much time. You have to be really quick. So okay, let's go. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, great. Favorite movie or genre?
I am a big fan of The Big Lebowski. Yeah, one of my all-time favorites.
Awesome, great taste. Music.
Rock, heavy metal, everything with guitars distorted. Yes.
Amazing. I love that. We're friends. Great. Sport.
No sport. Well, at least not doing it myself. I do like football, what like people in the US call soccer. Yeah, big football
Right.
fan.
Great. Okay, Spain or Switzerland?
I am not from Spain. My family is from Argentina.
Argentina. Okay, right. I got it well. Okay.
Argentina and Switzerland. That is impossible to answer. Both, my heart is in both places, and both countries have very wonderful things and also difficult things. So I opt for both.
Okay, great. Very well done. Diplomatic question answer there. Okay, research technique or method.
I do not have a favorite research technique or method because I think it's important to pick the right method for the right question. And in the moment you have a favorite technique, you will always, every problem will look like a nail and a hammer to you. So I don't have that. I think they're all equally important depending on the situation.
Okay, great. Last one now. Favorite quirks of Javier.
Quirks.
Yeah.
Oh, favorite quirks. I don't know if my wife would exactly agree with that. Uh, what kind of quirks do I have? Yeah, I'm very, very opinionated about wine. So I do like red wine, but I am very opinionated about that. And I have a very peculiar taste. So I will challenge you massively if you drink a Pinot Noir, which leads to many interesting discussions with friends.
Awesome. Very well done, Javier. And before I let you go, do you have any message for our attendees, and what are your expectations from UX360, and what are you looking for?
I I I'm really looking forward to be in person. That has been missing. I have attended two conferences since the end of the pandemic, and it was wonderful to see people in person, to speak with them, to just like immerse in the community. So I encourage the attendees to do that, to speak with each other, reach out to me if there's anything I can do to help you. I'm there exactly for that, to meet people, and so looking forward to see everyone face to face.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Lovely sharing your thoughts. Lovely to hear you and have your thoughts. Thank you so much, Javier.
Thank you.
Really forward and excited about your talk in Berlin next month. See you there soon.
See you in Berlin. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye. Adios.
All right.
We can end it.
I will end it and I'll just share the file with you. Okay.
Yeah, all right. Sounds great. And sorry
Oh
about
man.
I thought you were originally from Barcelona for some reason, but yeah.
No,
Now I remember
I
that.
would love to live there one day, but yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay,
All right.
great. Yeah, so yeah, we can probably end the recording now.
Let me see how to do that.